think we started. There we go. This guy shows up. This guy shows up right after I give up on him. All right, welcome to the Discard Pile. Yeah. This is John Corbett talking to whoever's listening. This is the Discard Pile, Season 3, Episode 3. It's July something, 2016, 8th. Someone said, it's not the 8th? Thanks. The fuck, she's from the future. She just yelled at me from the future. All right, so this is an impromptu, free-for-all Discard Pile where I just invited everybody. I wasn't planning on being home. In fact, I was planning on being in Josh Sheets' house right this evening drinking his booze, but in my business, you never know where the fuck you're going to be. I'll do some introductions. Our returning champion, Mike Shea from Atlanta. Welcome, Mike.
Thank you for having me.
Now, Mike, you just posted on the Trek boards about which faction needs the most help. Real quick, what's your number one?
My number one? Well, I'm partial to Terok Nor, but basically I'd be in favor of any affiliation with a current 0 win percentage getting some much needed help.
Mike, you always use 20 words. Just what's the number one affiliation that needs help?
Terok Nor.
Wrong answer. My next guest.
You just go wrong like Jim McGlear.
McLaughlin.
All right.
Right. I don't fucking know names.
This guy hasn't been on the show forever. He's interrupted.
Watch your PBS, Haas.
All right, about 3,000 miles away in Seattle, Justin Ford. Welcome, Justin. So what happened in Orlando, Justin? What happened? You didn't make. What? I didn't even know. Did you play? 2E?
Oh, shut up. No.
No,
you don't play Minnesota Tech outside of Minnesota. That's one reason why those guys don't travel.
Oh, we can go real deep on this show, and I can talk about the Kevin Yeager private messages I got about you, how you fucked up his deck. We'll get to that later. My next guest. Let's go back to the Eastern Time Zone. We're all over the country, and the Prince of Paducah, Kentucky's own Josh Sheets. Welcome, Justin.
Thank you. Glad to be here.
Josh, Justin, who gives a shit? Josh,
you sound like Justin.
Josh, we just had a secret errata meeting. Let the public know what was decided on arbitrarily in the secret errata meeting.
Oh, arbitrarily, we're just erasing Khan from existence. That's all.
That's the right answer. All right, I like that one. Where are we at? Let's go to the breadbasket of America. John Carter, another returning champion. Welcome, John.
Actually, I'm secretly coming to you from Austin, Texas at this point.
Oh, you're right. Oh, he's right behind me. Oh, shit. Oh.
The call is coming from inside the house.
Oh, it gets weird. Oh, now, see, of course, is that the only Texas town that allows you in it is Austin? Because Austin's the weird part of Texas.
Yeah, it's about the only town I wouldn't get lynched in.
They don't. No, never mind. I can't. I'll say something real bad.
We don't serve your kind here.
All right, and Ben Haas, has been a while. Where have you been, buddy? Why haven't you? I haven't seen you in a long time, Ben. Why don't you love me anymore?
Huh?
Thank you. All right. Exactly. Wait, you bring the goods like always, Ben. All right, I'm gonna get to my first real world topic. It's John Carter's girlfriend, Hillary Clinton. They let her off the hook, like Dennis Green would say. So John Carter.
I gotta change my shirt.
Yeah. John Carter, tell me why Hillary got away with it again. The narrative, and I hate that word, by the way. We'll get to that later. Everyone has to use the word narrative. How did she get away with it?
John.
Oh, well, why? But everyone uses that. Why do we have to use one? It's said 40,000 times a day.
I gotta put the Hillary shirt on. Yeah. There we go.
What are they? Did you buy that from her website?
No. I bought that from Wonkette's website.
Oh my God! The fuck.
So I'm gonna open the floor to anybody. Should she have been indicted?
No.
No.
It's standard policy. It was standard operating policy across administrations, across politics. Marco Rubio did it. Jeb Bush did it. Scott Walker did it in Wisconsin. There was no standard procedure. It was the pressure of the State Department and the assorted individuals to declassify things questionably
But John,
in order to put them on those servers.
John, but she has a vagina. Doesn't that matter?
No, because I'm not a sexist.
It's not about the.
Actually, Republicans are holding a hearing to determine that right now.
Wait, whether she has a vagina or whether she should have been indicted.
Yeah.
Yes.
I heard she was crooked somewhere.
Oh.
I hear it a lot, so it's probably true, right? That's how that works.
You just heard that from an anti-Semitic meme, Ben.
You're on those Trump websites, Ben? Yeah, he's on those websites.
On those websites, yeah.
So my only problem with because I've been rolling through the South. I went to Mike State down. I was in the southern Georgia, down in it. So I've spent the last 4 days crisscrossing the South. So I've been listening to that good right-wing radio. And my only problem with this is when they're talking about the FBI director. I forget his name. They just kept saying, oh, he's a man of character. He's beyond reproach. And then they reproached the shit out of him. I don't even know what reproach means, really. But all they did was say this guy is a good man, and then they just fuck him. They twisted his arm. I don't understand that. Someone clue me in how the FBI director, who everyone respects, the fix was in.
Well,
Bill Clinton went on Loretta Lynch's plane and did some Kaiser Soze shit or something.
Yeah, he was a good man until he didn't give them what they wanted. Then he was horrible.
Which is exactly what happened to John Roberts, you'll notice.
Oh, I'm going to get to that too. I'm going to get to the Supreme Court next. But I don't know. But with Hillary, didn't they miss a chance? Because they could have got her on just the careless. The word careless. When you're trying to be...
negligence was the term used.
Well, no,
it was careless. Well, probably both.
The language of the law does seem to allow there's a law that it's a misdemeanor, but there is a law that the language does seem to allow a prosecution for that, but in practice it's never done, and it would be a little bit shady for this to be the first case that they like really push that law on.
I mean, like the spitting on the sidewalks is on the books someplace, but nobody prosecutes for it.
You don't test new laws in presidential elections.
Yeah, like it was probably illegal for Siddiq al-Fadil to take that shit on the Iron Throne. But
I don't know. Bush versus Gore. They tested out plenty of laws during that election. It made them up.
Well, they had to then.
Yeah, but didn't they like? By just pushing all this, she should go to jail. She should go to jail. All that just nonsense. Why did you say, yeah, you know what? She's careless. Why would you elect a careless person?
Well, because you can't really do that. Like Republicans can't really do that. They have the one guy that's uniquely unsuited to make that case.
He's extraordinarily careless.
That accidentally retweets white supremacist stuff because. And I have no reason to think he wanted to spread anti-Semitism. He just, it's something. I'm just gonna retweet this because I don't have a social media director. It's just me and my phone.
Well, and if you want to be more nefarious, he is very good at saying he himself is not racist, anti-Semitic, or whatever, but he sends signals to groups who are. He at least
but that's been Republican SOP for.
Well, yes, it's dog whistle politics at its finest.
Yeah.
Well, I don't think it's going to matter anyway. I mean, one of the biological foundations of politics is that people create their own mental models of reality. So people that were going to vote against Hillary Clinton already do anything to change their mind. The fact that she wasn't indicted is proof of a conspiracy, whatever. I mean, whatever your favorite word, narrative, is. And then for people who were going to vote for Hillary Clinton, the fact that she was in any other election cycle probably unforgivably careless isn't going to make any difference. They're going to vote for her anyway. So I don't know. You know, nobody got what they wanted here, and we're becoming so polarized and so self-sorted. Anyway, the echo chamber is in full blast, and I just don't think it's going to matter one way or another. Even if the report had been just completely exonerating, if it had been the best of all possible dream outcomes for the Clinton campaign, it would not have mattered at all. There would still be more hearings on it. There would still be cries of conspiracy. There would still be cries of unfit to lead. It just wouldn't matter. And vice versa. If the FBI had recommended to indict, then people who support Hillary would have said, well, this is clearly because of sexism and bias. And so people have already decided what they're going to do in November, I think.
Well, speaking about whiny bitches, and that's been my problem this week with right-wing radio, is all the whining. And the next thing is the Supreme Court. Now, John, you're down in Texas apparently. Are you setting up the new dead baby clinics that are all going to pop up over Texas now?
If I had the money, I would be.
So, well, they can get you the money. It's Texas.
John Carter's fun time abortion clinics. We bring up the kid in you.
So so the abortion ruling went down the wrong way for conservatives, and once again, why are liberal judges activists and conservative judges aren't? I don't understand why. Isn't everyone an activist?
Yes.
Because John, you're supposed to just read the text of the Constitution, and it just says everyone can have guns and no abortions.
When it doesn't say either of those things.
Right.
Yeah, I mean, it's all activism. And, I mean, there have been points in America's history where liberals have decried conservatives as activist judges. It's just a happy buzzword to complain about the judges you don't like.
So there's no such thing as judicial tyranny?
Well, to be clear, I mean, in judicial politics, there is an opposite to, or there is an other side to, not judicial restraint. And there have been justices.
No.
Fuck.
Brian, you're.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
Brian, you're late, so you have to sit there and shut the fuck up for a while. I'm sorry, Mike. Continue your thought on.
So, I mean, I guess not all justices are activists, but I agree that activist tends to be the word that gets thrown around whenever one does something the other side doesn't like. I mean,
if we wanted this argument to be interesting, we would bring in James Heaney.
Yeah.
Well, no. I was going to say I'm glad Brian's here because he's the closest thing we have to a conservative in the Trek community. There's besides someone who actually come out of their dark room typing on a computer screen angrily. So, Sykes, we're talking about the Supreme Court.
PK.
I know. No, he comes on the show and he never comes through. He's a Facebook conservative. So, Sykes, we're talking about the Supreme Court and everybody crying about judges who don't go their way. Now, conservatives, they've had a good run in the courts, probably since for the last 30 years. And now it's starting to go the other way. And once it starts going the other way, it's activist judges and judicial. We got to declare our independence from judicial tyranny. It's like, what the fuck does that? The fuck does that even mean? So now let's just start with this decision itself, Brian. That they struck down Texas's abortion laws that were real strict. What did you feel about that?
Oh God. Okay.
Dead babies. Oh, I hope his wife isn't watching. This isn't good.
No, honestly, I didn't follow this one that closely. I don't know the details of it, so I know it was a 5-3 decision. I guess Kennedy flipped over or something like that, and quote betrayed the conservatives and whatnot. I don't know. It seems like the Republican presidents who've picked all these allegedly conservative judges are batting about 500 because half of them tend to drift toward the liberal side anyway. Or, I mean, you look at some of the liberal judges and you look at who appointed them, it doesn't really line up with the political party lines too well, at least on the conservative side. I mean, you got Souter, you had O'Connor was known to tilt, more liberal on some issues. Obviously all the replacements have been appointed by Obama, so they're all liberal. I don't know. I think the only thing I really have to say about the Supreme Court is that's probably one of the biggest issues for me going into this election is the fact that there is an open seat that is going to be, filled by the next president. So, that's one thing I'm paying attention to as far as the actual rulings that come down now.
We're just gonna roll past how like outrageous that is. That apparently you don't get to appoint judges for a year.
That's a good point. That's a good point, Brian.
Merrick Garland's appointed in November.
I've wondered if Sandra Day O'Connor could just show up and just because the appointments are for life. Like who's gonna can she just show up and just she's already been confirmed, right?
Ben Haas, no, but Supreme Court seats aren't like CC badges on their message boards. You don't just get them back when you want them, like Nick. You resign. You resign.
I was going to make the joke that Nick proved that doesn't actually even happen here.
Yeah, he tried though. He tried to just walk right back in. Yeah, she should try and Nick just walk back in and sit down.
Yeah.
Nothing happened. See if she...
who's going to stop her? That's kind of what I mean. It's like,
for Republicans, the challenge is the Reagan coalition's breaking down now. So I'm not even sure in America what it means to be a conservative anymore. I mean, on one end of the spectrum, you have anarcho-capitalist libertarians who are wanting laissez-faire capitalism and a return to, the time of Adam Smith without a state. And then on the other end of the extreme, you've got Mike Huckabee and the American theocrats. So it's like, and there's so much in between. I mean, when we're talking about conservatism, are we talking about, the culture wars? Are we talking about pro-business conservatives? Are we talking about more libertarian, sort of laissez-faire capitalists?
White nationalism.
The party was able to hold.
I'm not sure it's limited to one thing, though, Mike. I mean, I'm not sure you can just classify it in one of those boxes. I think there's aspects in all of those areas that people who call themselves conservative, ascribe to, and not all of them are the same. I mean, it's
the values are often at odds with one another.
I got a simple question. But what's the first thing that makes it conservative?
I mean, and I think this is Mike's point. In the Reagan era, it was small government. Like, first and foremost, that was
more simpler. I'm talking Burke. I'm talking before that. What's the first thing that makes it conservative?
Tradition, an adherence to
tradition. Her question, John. What do you try? What? Huh?
Yeah, did you just drop Burke on us? Is that what that was?
Mike's trying to say that conservatives are disappearing of what they used to be and what they are now. But no, it's also tradition and family. The family unit is the foundation for society. Now, I'm a conservative. That's what I think. But I don't care what that family looks like. I don't care if it's two lesbians with a Chinese baby. I don't care if it's me with my three crazy kids. So, am I a conservative?
Not in any American sense of the word in the last 100 years.
All right, that's what I wanted to know. I needed somebody smarter than me to figure it out. All right, let's take a time out from the real world. Let's go to the Trek world, and we had the Orlando Continentals. Now let's go with. I don't want to hear Justin's excuses for not being able to navigate the greatest player who ever lived, Kevin Yeager's deck. Josh Sheets, give me your take on Orlando Continentals.
Orlando put on a good show. They put on a good show for Masters the year before, and they deserved a shot at a Continentals. And at this point, I'd say until they completely screw something up, they should keep getting at least one high-level event each year. People traveled for it. That's typically been the earmark of a good high-level event.
So you're saying
it can't be that great because you won something, but
well, I had a mental breakdown the day before too. So I covered the gambit in Orlando, so I had a good time. But
you mean run the gamut?
Yeah, I don't. Ben, I'm drinking a lot, man. Don't ask me.
Carry on.
Did I say run the gambit? That's not the right word.
Yeah, John, that's wine.
None of those words are what you meant. You got V right.
You're not allowed to tell me what words mean. What are you goddamn liberals trying to change the definition of words? All right, Justin, go ahead. Give me your take. Why did you shit the bed? What happened? What went wrong, Justin? What went wrong?
It was the Waffle House he had the night before.
Never blame the Waffle House.
Nah, Orlando was fun. You know, everybody else said, "Oh, he's going to play relativity. He's going to play relativity."
No, I don't care what you played.
I had taken a shit in the parking lot of a Mason Lodge once because of Waffle House.
Good story.
Trying to throw people off. It failed. Not the end of the world.
But at the end of the day, Lucas won with some Klingon, a little bit old school. So the
No, I gotta jump in here. Lucas won with an overwhelmed pile. That warms my heart. Like the 2005 me was jumping for joy to see Lucas take an 8-pointer pile like the Sandy Barnabas area.
I assumed you said overburdened. Did you say overwhelmed?
Overwhelmed.
Yeah, that made my penis move a little bit when you just said that. I didn't know that because I don't pay attention. I didn't know people.
If you play a card before 2010, Brian Sykes gets a huge Glory Days boner for any card that somebody uses before 2010. So
no, I got my nerd boner because Phil won day one with my deck, so that was pretty cool.
Yeah, I let that go. That was more me. I was having a full tilt Bibbles experience after round 5. I was 4-0 with a near broken deck, and I just fucking lost my mind. But it's not the first time, and it won't be the last. But everybody said Klingon and Borg post-errata were done. Not even close, right?
Well, let's see, you had Klingons winning, you had Borg doing, well, it sounds like more of a player error than a deck error to hear you tell it, so,
yeah,
it sounds like Borg and Klingons done right can still hang.
Borg K&E recursion can be stupid good.
Klingons. Was there a lot of Species 8472 stuff?
No, Phil was it. He ran through day 1, and everyone played Klingons on day 2 because that's the answer for it.
Yeah, Klingons shit all over those lemmas.
One guy, everybody played something. You might be a conservative, Brian. You just start saying random. Everybody. One guy. Oh no, Will played it too. Will
of the field playing Klingons. I mean,
Will was playing. No one was teching for 8472. I like it. I like your story, Brian. You had a deck that won day 1, so everybody teched for it for day 2. All right, I'm sorry. Kevin Yeager is not the greatest player who ever lived. It's Brian. You're East Coast Chris Ostoby now. I got it, Brian. All right, so let's get back to.
That hurts. That hurts.
John just firing at random into the crowd.
Well, this is it's a disco pile free for all, and. Hey man, I spent the last 5 days in the South. Michael, no, you get rowdy when you hang out in the South. All right, let's get back to Mike. I'm gonna get back to your post because besides me, you're the only person who posts any content on the message boards. Post code of conduct nonsense. So besides Tarek Noor, come on, they don't need the most help. Who needs the most help?
Well, if you go by the poll, it's Khan.
Fuck the poll. The angry mob is always wrong.
No, Khan needs a lot of help.
Pause. Fuck the police, then fuck the poll.
That's what we need. We need a show full of white guys. We need somebody quoting NWA. Good job.
Some white guy needs to speak up for how fucked up the police are.
They are.
Well, I was just outside Baton Rouge where shit's getting real again. So.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
Even the guy, I'm at the place and there's an older black guy. We're sitting there. I'm smoking a cigar, and he's like, "Them boys are scared." And I'm like, I said the same thing on the Discord pile about this shit. How it's just pasty white guys that they're hiring who are just scared dudes who can't handle the job. And this dude right away, he's like, "Them boys are scared." And I'm like, "Yeah, they are." There you go. Stop hiring 22-year-old white dudes to be cops. And I think that would solve.
What I love about the way the thing is shaking out on social media anyway is, after the Orlando shooting, it was all, everybody in the bar should have had a gun, then everything would have been fine. And now everybody's, the guy, he got shot because he had a gun. I'm like, well, so I guess only white guys are allowed to have guns would be the moral of this particular story.
Well, isn't that what the Second Amendment really says, John?
Me? Oh, that's how the Second Amendment is practically interpreted. It's clearly not what it says, but that's what our country seems to think it says.
wasn't the last round of like serious like gun control in the '60s basically a reaction to the Black Panthers realizing that open carry meant black people too, and marching around with rifles in groups and scaring the shit out of everyone.
They don't need guns to scare white people.
Yeah,
I mean in the '60s when they were actually like a serious thing, not the three guys in Philadelphia with batons and berets.
I know those guys. You take it easy. That's my area.
Not those three guys who were on Fox News every day for 5 years. I mean like Huey Newton.
All right, I wasn't planning on talking about Orlando, but that was the biggest news right before Continentals. And I really wish I wanted TK on the show because I wanted to bring it up how I don't like this absurd notion of pledging allegiance. It just seems so childish and stupid. And my joke was if I pledge allegiance to Jaro Essa in the Circle before I shoot up the local bar in Austin, Texas, am I a Bajoran terrorist? And his answer was yes, I am.
That's what ISIS said. Is that don't coordinate with us because they'll catch you if you like call us and ask us for you just like to give us credit for your attack. You post something on the internet that says you publicly pledge allegiance to what's his ass as like
Abu
Nazir or whatever the fuck that's ISIS's rule for how you.
Yeah, but my whole point was if we treat these guys serious, if we give him that credit, I think that's the perfect thing we should do is just laugh at him, call him Abu whatever the fuck, and the guy who shut up the club, we just call him a loser like he was a fucking not to disparage security guards, my former profession, but you know he was just a fucking loser who had nothing else better going on. And took a shot at having a name. Don't give him a name.
And of course, it turns out that he was maybe, a little bit gay and a little bit upset about that himself.
A little bit.
That theory is not definitively proven. It's unclear whether he was casing the place or if he actually had.
I saw a picture of him dancing. I've never cased a joint like that.
He was his ex-wife said he was gay.
Right. That has nothing to do with it.
I think
he was on Grindr. Like a lot.
Yeah.
Like people.
Let me ask Mike. Doesn't this crime require a little bit of self-loathing, a little bit of like he hated something about himself to kill that many people? And it had nothing to do with fucking Allah or Muhammad or fucking any of that shit. Something was wrong with him.
I was just going to say I think it's problematic that for at least a significant portion of the country, it's far more believable that he was an ISIS terrorist than it is possible that he was, that he was filled with sort of self-hate and self-loathing, and that came from us, that came from our culture here in the United States. That's what I find troubling about this is there's a complete lack of any sort of introspection on the part of some of the right on this country to say, hey, look, if this guy was in fact a closet case and dealing with internal homophobia and that kind of rage that creates, perhaps the narrative that we've been spewing forth for the last 30 years had something to do with that. Maybe we're accountable, in at least partly. But they're very quick to blame Islam while absolving radicalized Christianity, and so that's. I think as a culture, we've got to have a very honest conversation about that.
All right, Mike, we can have an honest conversation, but you already have 3 narratives, and you're out of the Discord pile. That's the new rule. So, all right, let me switch it to a topic that doesn't involve murdering innocent people. I'm gonna get into some bullshit statistics, nice boring statistics. Like Mark Twain said, there's lies, damn lies, and then there's statistics. Last year was.
I don't think that's true.
Was Twain? Was it or not? I think it was
Mark Twain has there's so many misattributed quotes to him that
I don't give a fuck. That's what it says on the internet. So.
It's
Well,
not
either Mark Twain or Ben.
You're right about that. That's the I quote. I don't give a fuck. Hyphen the internet. You're right.
Last year was the first year that the middle class was not the majority in the United States. And I just got a simple question. I'm going to go throw it to Sykes first. Is that a bad thing, that the middle class isn't the majority in the United States?
How are they defining middle class in that? I mean, I
54, you got to make, and I finally, at the end of this year, unless I run my truck off a cliff, I will finally crack my household income. At family of 5, it's like 54,000. So I finally got there. I finally got the American dream, and I'm in the minority still. So it's about 55,000 for a family of 5, Brian.
Okay, I mean, obviously, having more. The question is, where are they going? I mean, do they have an upper bound? Is there a super rich category that people are migrating into, or are they all going down to the lower class?
There's more of everything else, and less of the middle class. There's
proportionally more lower class than upper class, though, in that divide.
Yeah.
Okay, so it sounds like the trend line is generally speaking pointing downward. That's probably not a good sign. I mean, there's probably any number of reasons that that's the case, and there could be many contributing factors. I mean, wages have been stagnant, for 30 years. Even in the government sector where I am, I did some math, I want to say like 2 years ago, just because I was curious. I'm an econ nerd. And I found out that as a GS-13 accountant in the federal government, I was making the same as would have been making in 1980, adjusted for inflation. So I mean, there's like no real wage growth there.
It's not about you, Brian. It's about America.
No.
And I'm not that
That's
smart.
a good example, John. That's actually a good example.
Oh, okay. I apologize, but I just want to know. He said, I'm sure everything was right, but I just want to know: is it good or bad overall? Is it good or bad? I need something explained to my dumb brain.
Bad.
I mean,
Okay,
if people, generally speaking, are making less money, then that's a sign of potential economic slowdown, or at the very least, lack of future growth potential. That's generally a bad thing. I mean,
are there different problems?
So, well, I think this is where the problem comes from, is our economy is growing and our middle class is not. And the question is, why are those not correlated, right? The average GDP is up. The average amount of money circulating is up. Wages are not up. That would become the question of why is there a difference between the two, and why I would ultimately say it's bad.
Well, that's an answerable question,
John. Who's got the fucking money?
You can answer that. The answer to that is there's been a lot of monetary injection into the economy over the last, since 2008, when the Fed's been buying government debt, basically effectively increasing the money supply. They sort of dialed that back a little bit in recent years, but if you want to explain why the economy is nominally growing, where you're not seeing it in real wages, it's because of the, or at least partially because of the churn that exists between the flow of money between Wall Street and the government and the financial system and all that stuff. I mean, there's a reason.
I don't disagree with you on any of this, Sykes.
Okay.
All right, but once again, you guys are going above my head.
You're going above my head too.
Yeah, let me go to Justin. Justin,
that's hard to do.
So
Greg.
Let me go to Justin. So there's more rich people than there was. That's fine. I'm not John Carter. I'm not a socialist. I'm all for people making that paper. But in 1971, 16% of adults were in the lowest bracket. Now it's 20%. So basically, there's more poor people. Is that a bad thing, Josh? I'm sorry, Justin. I hate both of you.
I mean, I don't think it's necessarily a bad thing. I mean, you look at economic statistics. Our unemployment is down. More people are in the workforce. Wages are going up.
Said the unemployment rate is probably like 40%.
Oh,
you know,
stop it. Stop
you know,
it.
wages are going to be going up. Because, you know, we have cities across the country that are adopting the $15 minimum wage, which is going to push everyone's wages up. Because, you know, now you have
It's also going to push everyone's prices up, Justin. So the real impact is going to be,
yes, it's going to push everyone's prices up, but it's also going to push wages up because you're going to have, for example, a person at McDonald's making $15 an hour versus now you have a bank teller who's making $15 an hour. That bank teller is going to have to be making more than 15 because, you know, you could.
Right, and also that's going to force out jobs. I mean, you're going to increase unemployment. You're going to increase price level.
I don't think unemployment is going to increase.
Justin, it's going to have to. They've already started putting kiosks in places. At Continentals, you ordered breakfast at a gas station through a kiosk and not a person. I mean, that's another job.
Look how many people they had working in that little tiny gas station. They had a lot of people behind the counter.
That's a separate problem. How there's going to be less jobs overall for us.
Only if we assume
it's not a separate problem.
Work week is a necessity.
But the more adults being poor, you also have to look then at cost of living. If is cost of living higher, and we're not adjusting for cost of living as effectively as we were in the past. You know, in terms of Brian's sake, my dad was also in the public sector. He never received cost of living adjustments for the last 10 years that he was in public service before he retired. And so that's hard. And so that's another thing to look at too.
All right, so I got another simple question. Now, can you now from how I used to see it, the only way to raise everyone's wages is by actually influx of immigrants doing shitty jobs. Can you raise everyone's raises artificially? I really don't know that. By just making
not over the long term.
City of Seattle can, because if you adopt it, you just like, this is what we're doing.
Seattle's an iffy case. Right, because like the numbers have come back and employment increases have slowed in Seattle.
They've slowed, but they haven't decreased. We're still increasing.
Not at the rate you were prior, and that's a question. Like, I'm not saying it's good or bad. I'm pro paying people better wages than the federal minimum wage. I think that, you know, especially adjusted for inflation, the 7 whatever is not a realistic wage. For the whole country, is 15 a realistic wage? Probably not. That's why a living wage standard.
Not in Texas.
Like nor in Nebraska. Like Nebraska couldn't sustain a $15 an hour minimum wage, which is why like a living wage.
They can't pay their light bill. They can't pay their light bill in Nebraska, John. What's going on there, buddy?
I mean, no, I could pay like my fucking rent for $15.
No, the government. No, you can pay your light bill. The government can't pay their light bill.
The Nebraska state government's solvent. We're not one of those states.
Oh, I'm thinking of Kansas. I'm sorry.
Yes. Thank you. Don't put that shit on us.
I'm sorry. I apologize.
They are very similar.
Sure, they're big, they're square, they're white.
Hey, as a truck driver, let me tell you, they look exactly the fucking same.
Oh no, our government likes.
Around the Civil War, there were probably people that would like knife your whole family for saying that, but.
Also, our governor likes to kill people. The Kansas governor likes to destroy the entire government.
So here's my. I'm conflicted. Moving to Texas conflicted me on the minimum wage, because I think in Texas, where it's I guess it's the federal minimum, and the cost of living is so low in Texas, and I can only speak from my point of view. So I feel if they just said one day, federal minimum wage $15, I know my landlord is going to come knocking on my door and say, hey, your rent's going up $400 a month. Everything would just go up. So my theory is that, that's why I'm so pro-immigrant. I want all the immigrants coming in because it shows that immigrants make everyone else's wages go up. Am I crazy, John? Is that?
They don't necessarily make aggregate wages go up. Now the reality is, first and foremost, immigrants are not stealing jobs from standard Americans.
Standard Americans. I know what you meant, but that sounded terrible.
What sounded terrible?
Standard. I don't know. It's not. Yeah, it's not good. It doesn't sound nice.
I'm basically saying the reason when
average.
Immigrants steal American jobs, it's because American companies are exploiting them to pay them less than the minimum wage.
Right.
That's what I was trying to say.
It also depends on which type of immigrants we're talking about, because you got the farm hands on one hand, you know the lettuce pickers and then the fruit harvesters and everything else. On the other hand, you have the engineers, and
right.
They're coming in, and when you get to the white collar level, it's a whole different scenario than like the agricultural labor level. I mean,
but in both of those cases,
who's stealing your job, Sykes? Who's stealing your job? Someone who overstayed their visa.
as a government employee, I'm fortunate that I only have to compete with other U.S. citizens for employment.
But-
so no one's displacing me.
In both of the examples,
As a government contractor, I have to compete with a lot of Indians.
I'm sure you do.
A lot of Indians.
But I mean, in both of those cases, you're talking about job areas where there's a shortage of Americans who are willing to do those jobs at the rate that the market is currently paying to do those jobs.
Yes, I don't have to compete that hard.
Right.
Let me get back to my basic question. This is fucking America, and there's more poor people than there was fucking 35, 40 years ago.
Thanks, Ronald Reagan.
No, this is just, 71. I'm sure Reagan helped. But isn't that, like, why? They say, the economy is not a zero-sum game. It's not a zero-sum game. Then why are there more poor people? I don't get it.
The rich got richer.
Well, all right, so this is my last statistic I'll bore you with. So in 1983, speaking of Reagan, so rich people basically had 3.5 times net worth more than the middle class. Now it's about 6.5 times more than the middle class.
Is that in aggregate? Like the entire rich class is 6.5 times more wealthy than the entire middle class?
Yeah.
Okay.
So
a higher percentage of wealth is concentrated in a smaller percentage of the population.
All right, so let's say
and that's fractal too. Like the top 1% of 1% of 1% has like much more money than like the proportions are the same when you zoom in like that.
So you're talking like the 1% versus the 0.1%?
I don't want to break the numbers up that much. That's when you get into the damn lies and the statistics. Listen, man. Like I said, I don't care about rich people. I want you to get that paper. So in my mind, I don't care about 1%. There's just the middle, and then there's the lower, there's the middle, and then there's the upper. And the upper has 6.5 times more money than I do compared to let's say my dad, and they only had 3 times more. Why do they need? Not need. Did they get it because they're such hard workers? Is that just? Is there anything wrong with that? Am I something I'm missing?
Well,
should I care?
Yes, I think if we could, I think there's a lot of evidence if you look back at the Federalist Papers and what the founding fathers had to say about the need to prevent the birth of an aristocratic class in the United States.
Coming up, I'm gonna need some weed.
I think the founding fathers would say that they all read Adam Smith, and so a capitalist market thrives on inequality. That's the only way it can function. So some level of inequality is permissible in the system.
Although Adam Smith himself argued against that.
First of all, the founding fathers would say, "What's the deal with that mulatto in the White House, and why? And why is there an extremely popular musical about that asshole Hamilton?"
He's a cunt. Hamilton.
Yeah, no, hold on. No, this is actually relevant because Hamilton wrote a lot of the Federalist Papers, and he was not the aristocrat. You talk about the founding fathers.
He was
talking about rich, landowning, slave owning. Very.
Hamilton was not a slave owner.
Yeah, Hamilton.
No, that's my point. Hamilton, who wrote the Federalist Papers, did not represent the large aristocratic class that generally speaking founded this country. So he actually was an immigrant who had a much bigger knowledge of things like international finance, and actually he was the one who saved the government's monetary system after the Revolutionary War. We were completely bankrupt, and we inflated our currency beyond all recognition. The British counterfeited the currency, and it was all a complete, Charlie Foxtrot. So I mean,
it looks like Brian Sykes.
My point being.
You got 2 tickets.
My point being, when Mike's saying this is a founding fathers, not wanting the formation of an aristocratic class, the founding fathers were the aristocratic class. So I'm not sure I agree with that. With that kind of thought.
Yeah, the founding fathers also didn't want political parties. So good work, guys.
So the only thing that happened in the world is Brexit, but I don't have nothing written down because I don't give a fuck. Someone tell me why I should give a fuck about Brexit.
Northern Ireland might pop off again over it.
It's a good thing for. I mean, you look at our exchange rates. Right now it's getting our goods are going to become a lot more expensive.
Exactly what Donald Trump said.
But if you look at it, for the last 20 years, the American dollar has been weak over the British pound, and it is now getting very close to overpowering
It's
that.
not close. It's still a
It's like a buck 30.
No, it's at a 15-year low, and it's so it's
Sure.
A buck 30.
It's a 15-year
Why
low.
should I care? Why should I care about the pound versus the dollar?
Cheap
You
flights to
should
World
care,
Star.
John, because if the trend continues, the global economy will continue to be a shit show.
and American goods are going to be worth more money on the world market.
Yeah, it's fucking good for America.
No, it's actually not. If
Okay.
you want to build a model based on export, you want a dollar that's weaker, because if the dollar is stronger, that means you're selling less overseas. It actually hurts America.
You're selling less at a higher price, and so that balance,
It doesn't.
Yeah, but I could buy $100 Chinese TVs. A giant, as big as my fucking wall, Chinese TVs for $100. If my
Right,
dollar's
but
strong.
then your wages will drop in a few years if the dollar remains high against other global currencies.
That's right. Not only that, but there's also the philosophical consideration of we may be at the beginning of an illiberal wave. So if you look at the global trajectory post Cold War, you've seen an increase in the proliferation of democracy and democratic norms across the world, and what the Brexit may be a signal of is the beginning of a recession. So if you look at the campaigning of UKIP and of some of the other conservatives in Britain, it was all about anti-immigration and anti-bureaucracy, anti-government, and in some ways, and liberal sentiment.
How is that anti-democratic?
Um,
Well,
It's
what he's saying is the Brexit is the success of pro-racist, pro-fascist parties succeeding in democracy.
anti-liberal.
On the Discord,
I'll go a step further.
And so,
on the Discord pile, many moons ago, I said that Europe is way more racist than America, and I'm basing that just on soccer games. So I think this proved it, right? Because I don't think we're going to vote for
I'm trying to realize that America is so tolerant that like Italians and Poles don't even count as minorities over here.
Yeah,
We
are. America's a racist country, but every country is a racist country. But we're really, compared to Europe, we're not that bad. If Trump wins, we might be, but I don't think. Like I said, America has had some very specific forms of racism that were very uniquely American races.
Right.
Sure. And it's slavery and Native American genocide. But other than that, there's
Other than that.
But also But America has never been a European style like blood and soil ethnic state in that way.
I'm not sure you could make that in Baton Rouge right now.
I didn't catch a word of that.
Yeah, you broke up, Mike.
Yeah.
I said I'm not sure you could make so compelling an argument in Baton Rouge right now. For the Blacks.
Bad shit happens, but there's a lot more black people in America than there are non-whites in Europe.
Yes, but in Europe, even the Muslim population that they're reacting against isn't summarily executed by the police force.
We do have a major problem with this whole Black Lives Matter.
Yeah.
Hold on.
Is the problem with Black Lives Matter or with the police, Justin?
Hold on. I want to hear Justin elaborate. What's the problem with Black Lives Matter? I'm not saying that in accusatory. I'm generally curious. What's the problem?
No, it's wrong. They need to. The use of force. I can speak of that because the Seattle Police Department had a use of force bullshit go on.
Yeah, you would.
Use of force needs to tone down.
Yeah, you're right that that's a problem with militarized police force and.
So we all should join the NAACP.
Oh, you and John Carter are going full blown Bernie Sanders on me. full-blown socialism's coming at it. And I love this show. The Disco Parable. 7 white dudes talk about black people and racial problems in America. But
white people need to talk about it.
No, you're absolutely right. It actually is. It comes down. It's kind of like when dudes talking about domestic violence, even though I don't need to hear about it during my NFL football games. But it is something that people got to take upon themselves. I guess the people who aren't supposed to talk about it or whatever, however you want to put it. But let's get. All right, I'm gonna cut off the real world depressing shit. We got about 9 more minutes, so let's open it up to nerd shit, because I've been dominated with real world bullshit. So let's talk about any kind of nerd grievances. Let's go. Brian, how has been your run as head moderator?
I think that, since we brought the Great Nerd War to a somewhat, armistice, it's been fairly quiet. I think, spending the first year under the COC was a learning experience for all of us. I know a lot of the moderators, that were started the year off last year aren't with us anymore. I know, Mike, you did it for a while.
Die.
They're not on the moderator boards anywhere. I'll put it that way.
They're not even on. No, they did. They nerd died. They're not even on the boards because they weren't even players. They got people who weren't they had 20 posts a lifetime.
So what I've tried to do, and I haven't had the free time to dedicate to it that I would have liked, but I think the COC as originally designed was a good theory. Sometimes good theories don't really translate as well into the real world as we would like. So, we've made a couple rules changes. I think the application of the rules is sort of lightened up. I mean, not to use you as an example, John, but really you were the main example last year.
No. You said the theory behind the COC was right. Now, John Carter, you talked to me in private. I don't like people to hold secrets. What was the theory behind the COC?
I mean, the only problem I have with the COC is the unmoderated board side of it. That people need to be able to say stupid shit. That's the entire premise of free speech. It's why the First Amendment makes America theoretically awesome. Is that we have a right to be assholes sometimes. We just have to know when and where we can be assholes. And I think that's why
I have no control over that.
John,
I'm not saying it's your fault, thanks.
No, John, you said that. No, you said that. I guess a society or whatever, they need assholes, right?
Sure. I mean, if we want to go all the way back to the Greeks and the Sophists, Diogenes and the Cynics provide us an example of why Sophists, as assholes, are useful to society. And so we shouldn't punish people for being contrary or weird or unusual. We should try to figure out what we learn from their weirdness and their unusualness.
That even the noble Bernie Bro has an important role to play in the ecosystem?
Sure, the noble Bernie Bro, A, teaches us the limitations of the Democratic Party, and B, why certain bros are assholes. And we have to figure out how to react to that.
So that same logic also apply to the
Democratic Party.
What was that? I couldn't hear you because Haas wouldn't shut up.
The Democratic Party was able to repel its interloper in a way that the Republican Party was not.
No, I don't think John Carter's ever had the pleasure of the Haas before, so this is.
I haven't, so this is true.
Oh, you should wait till you get it in real life. Trust me.
Wait till I've been drinking.
Yeah.
I've been drinking rye, so.
Well, I'm not.
Oh, la-di-da, I'm drinking wine tonight. We're all fancy, except for you.
La-di-da, I drink wine, I brew in my toilet.
I'm not fancy like Justin in South Africa, drinking him and Fritz having wine tastings. I'm Facebook shaming the shit out of Justin right now. Because hey man, I don't care what true grown men do, but having a cheese tasting, I don't know, man.
His girlfriend came along too, so yeah.
Let's not be heteronormative shitheads.
No, it's not about that. Oh, now he's the one who said his wife had to come. I'm just saying, 2 guys going to a cheese. I hang out with Josh. We go to the wing bar.
Why does it matter that it's 2 guys? That's what I'm saying.
Well, because I'm a sexist. You already called me. You've called me a sexist in the past. So.
I have. It's true.
No, you called me a misogynist. I believe that's what.
On that nerd topic, London Worlds. What's going on? Germans not showing up?
Oh, anyone? Well, here you go. You got a strong dollar and a weak Brexit. Does anybody go to Worlds? I want to go, but it's not worth it.
Thinking about it.
If I had the time off, I would go because it's cheap.
Yeah, I'll take a look at it, but
I think I got a passport renewed.
Plane tickets now are like only $700.
Icelandic Air.
only 700 hashtag white people problem. Only $700 fucking dollars. I make money now. That's still a good chunk of change. $700. All right, so I'm gonna get to. Sorry, Mike.
You're coming to Dragon Con. I'm going to be running the events at Dragon Con if anybody's coming. So.
I refuse to admit that Dragon Con exists.
Yeah, I'm like Ben.
Bill goes every year, and I just assume that
Me and Ben have heard Phil's story, so unfortunately,
yeah.
Unfortunately, that disparages Dragon Con. Anything that Phil says is good. Can't be that good. But
He likes his deck.
So the other nerd topic is I feel bad for Mike because Mike got into Trek a little bit post COC, a little bit later. So Mike still gives a fuck, and I feel so bad for him. And he's always like, design should do this, design should do that. And I'm like, Mike, you're right, but they're all assholes. I don't know what to tell you. So Mike, you're right. What should design do? How does design? They've turned the ship away from the iceberg, but there's still water fucking leaking out. How do they get it? How do they get it back to the fucking
water
harbor?
leaking out of the ship? That's really good. that means the bilge pumps are working really well.
Or there's a giant fucking.
John doesn't know how boats work.
Yeah, you should really lay off the sauce.
You gotta start listening to playtesters.
All right, I'll let Justin hijack it. Justin, fuck Mike. Go ahead. Tell me how. Tell me what they're doing wrong.
I mean, you gotta listen. I mean, fuck. You're not. Whoever is playtesting is not. You're gonna be like, your idea is shit. Here's what is possibly wrong with the idea. Be an adult and be like, oh shit,
Justin,
that card is wrong.
Justin, you're talking vague. Talk about specifically what you want to talk about. Yeah, but he's talking about something specific that he didn't listen about. Go ahead, Justin.
No, I'm not.
Release your pick.
I'm not, because I can't be specific, otherwise somebody will yell at me.
Oh,
Maybe they're already here.
Oh, no, I don't give a fuck. You're talking about the Bajoran Maquis guy. Don't. This is the discard pile. We don't.
It's not just
Brian
that card.
Sykes has no power here to ban you.
Nope.
Yes, but
Am I the only green
I
badge here?
have to
And
see
if so,
Amber every local. I have to see Amber every local, and she'll get pissed.
Hey, Justin, remember, John said nobody watches this. You're clear.
Yeah, I was going to say.
Amber watches this.
Especially after half an hour of Federalist Papers talk, no one's fucking watching this.
Blame Mike.
And then also design playtest. Like the design number, you have rules and design, and then 2, you have a design lead that outed a playtest group, which is supposed to be anonymous. That's like 2 tenets of design broken.
So who are you mad at? Name names, Justin. Name
I'm
names.
not going to name names because that's not professional.
All right, Justin's not talking.
Kick him off the show.
I got something. Let me throw this out there for conversation. So
All right.
I think.
So Justin has a little bit. Oh, go ahead, Brian.
All right. So here's my thought, and because I have very few original thoughts these days, I'm just going to steal this one from the boards because I thought it was very apt. Someone made a comment that design these days seems like what new Legos. So basically, there's a set comes out, there's a deck theme. Basically, you put the pieces together, the deck builds itself. So there's not a lot of deck diversity. So like, taking for example the new Starfleet stuff. I mean, I auto built that deck for regionals and made it competitive. I mean, it basically the decks build themselves. There's not a lot of different ways to do things. It's like there's a script, and you follow the script, you get a good deck, but it sort of takes some of the originality out of it. And I think that's I thought that was an interesting point.
You're saying it's a customizable card game, if we remember back in 1994. So you're saying there's no customizability? Is that a word I just made up?
Yeah, I mean, like
we've already
to beat the Lego analogy to death, I mean, like when I was a kid, I had Legos. Like you get a bunch of colored blocks, you put things together, you come up with your own original, stuff. My kids get these Lego sets. It's like the Disney Princess Castle set, and there's a big book about that thick of step-by-step things on how to build, which blocks go where, everything goes in a certain order, a certain place. So there's a lot less creativity. I mean, you still get a nice product at the end, but you didn't have to put any thought in because somebody put the thought into it already and just handed it to you. I think that's one of the key things that.
You just want more cards. You don't want more ABC, IKEA furniture. This is how you put it together.
Yeah, so it's like, or
Okay,
put out a card that, it's like, I think there's a way to achieve the goals of Phase 2 design without losing the originality. So, like, just take like an affiliation-specific card and gear it so it can fit into multiple builds of that affiliation's deck. So it's not just one deck type.
Yeah, but well, we've had plenty of generic cards. We need more affiliation-specific.
No,
but I agree with what you're saying.
Okay.
So
yeah, I mean, like, and you're right. We need more diversity because I made this post on the thread earlier tonight in response to Jake, because he said ES9 sucks, and I'll tell you right now, ES9 doesn't suck. Jairus Inyo is a great build. I mean, the problem is it was a great build in 2011. It's still a great build today.
Yeah, but they're talking about paranoia. The whole thing they were trying to push with Phase 2. Jairus Inyo wasn't Phase 2. So the Phase 2
was a really good card. It made ES9 playable again. So I mean, there was some good design.
I love Starfleet's Jimmy Carter, which is a fucked up analogy, but it's kind of he should have a command star. I don't know why the fuck he has a command star. So let me get off at 2E. Let me go back to 1E. Now, John, me and you got drunk one night, and we wanted to bring back the 30-30 rule.
Yes.
I was on Dan's Section 31 a couple months ago, and I was rambling about it in a dark hotel room in Denver, Colorado. But I think now I'll let Justin, because he's a 1E guy. I think 1E sucks. I hate it. It's just draw cards, play free guys, and draw more cards and repeat. I fucking hate 1E. So shouldn't the 30-30 rule go back in effect so I don't hate it? It's all about me.
I want a regional this year with an ops download Nordex, so it's not just play free people and draw cards, although that was part of it.
I think it is a valid format that I think should be. I mean, for especially for newer players to get new people into 1E is so bloody complex. That's the problem with the game. The 30-30 rule is fairly easy because.
Did you just say bloody complex? And if so, do you fucking live in London?
No, he's just planning on going there and getting ready.
He's getting ready.
I think it's a valid format.
Can you say aeroplane?
I think it's a valid format that I think OP should test in certain play groups to see if it is to get the feedback, because Revised, who gives a fuck about Revised? Nobody plays Revised.
A lot of people do.
The one time I played Revised, it was a lot of fun. I am open to playing Revised. There's nothing to play with.
Open is complete bullshit. You'll turn
Open is amazing.
Forever.
I will fight you.
You will turn 1E away. You'll turn 1E
That
away.
thumbs up was to Josh, not to Justin.
Wait, Justin, why are you making all these arguments from the view of the mythical new player? This is almost a third.
I think like pre-errata lustful distraction, I'm kicking myself out of the discard pile.
You're not allowed to kick yourself out. He kicked himself out before. We had a 1E. Well, that's what happens. That's what 1E does, I think. That's how bad 1E has deteriorated. What I'm trying to say is I think me and John Carter on a drunken night we can save 1E with that format. That's my only.
It's a good format.
I would play that.
I'd be open to playing that format. I mean, like, that's the thing. It's like I don't think there's only one format for 1E. I think there's different formats to do different things. OTF is a very good standard, play, mainline tournament format. I think this 30-30, I gotta say, calling it the 30-30 rules wrong, because the 30-30 rules got put into effect that gave you the 30 seed cards and 30 draw cards. Before that, there was no 30-30 rule. It's just you had a 60-card deck. Go figure it out. So just to clarify terms there.
And I think you posted that on one of my threads, and I agree.
So we're all 1E conservatives. Is basically the moral of the series.
Let's see what happens if we go back to the old rules.
We just got to get OP to approve this format.
We got it. No. So we're all saying we got to make 1E great again. Is that what we're all agreeing?
No, never.
And I'm pretty sure Ken is on board with this, so OP's on board.
Yeah, I will say
some thought. You can say what you want, Corbett, but never make it great again, because we all know that's just a code word for make it white again.
Make it white again. Well, 1E. Well, I think all in track. Unfortunately, it's not been a very. I always say I always talk about racial issues. I always talk about shit you're not supposed to talk about or whatever. And I don't have any black guests because they're fucking unicorns in Trek. We can't get any. It's a very white game. I never understood why. Why is Star Trek such a white game?
You're asking a white guy?
Who else am I gonna ask? That's all
We're
I
all
have.
white.
Yeah, there's only 6 of us
Well,
on
I mean-
here.
Yeah, I mean, we're actually trying to make the Atlanta Playgroup as diverse as we can, but it's a problem. I think it's a problem for the genre as a whole. I don't think it's just Trek.
All right, that's fair. Yeah, there's not a lot of
Yeah, how many non-white people play Magic? Like none.
Yeah, and
Well,
even the younger demographic, there's a card store in my area that runs weekly Pokemon tournaments with a very white kid crowd there.
No, and Mike's store in Atlanta, there was a lot of black dudes playing Magic, so I was surprised by that. So I'll wrap this up. I'm gonna go back to the COC because I gotta get Sykes here while I got him in my sights. So
all right, bring it.
I ran it on the board. So like my point was that the COC is bad for business because like Trek in itself, it's a dying proposition. It's just a game that eventually is going to get down to the last 40 dudes who give a fuck. So the question is how long can you can slow down that process? And I think the COC is exasperating that process. I think that message boards need everything. They need unmoderated boards. They need flame wars. They need people saying fucked up shit. They need me saying racist things to TK on the boards. I think it really needs. I don't think there needs to be unmoderated boards. I think it needs to be anything goes, laissez-faire, whatever French word.
Okay, so I'm
am I
not
wrong?
really. I'm not sure I'm in the best position to respond to this. I will say that.
Oh.
No, because here's why. Because the data from the study or whatever that Charlie and the gang did with saying that they will lose a bunch of people because of shit on the boards, I never saw that data. I don't know anything about who was asked and who said what about whom and whatever. So, I mean, I'm not really sure I can speak to that. Now, where I do agree, and where I agree with Carter and you, is I think there does need to be, a vent. And, that was always something just build up and then explode. And an unmoderated forum, would probably help with that. And I think even with an unmoderated forum, there probably need to be a few ground rules to, keep it, so, because there are parts of the community that are, like it or not, they're sensitive to what people say on the boards to them or about them, and they don't want to be part of that, and they shouldn't have to be part of that. So, I think you actually, blazed the trail with the Jersey boards years ago when you had the poop shoot for them. I remember there were like Minnesota Jersey flame wars that were all over the boards, and you're like, this is crazy. This is
And
bad for business.
why was that a success? Because contrary, what was it opposite of? It was opposite of the Decipher, button up, will ban you if you act up board. So that's why Team Jersey was a success back then. But the day the CC started, I got rid of TeamJersey.net because I thought that the inmates were running the asylum to a certain degree, and then people got back to their usual bullshit.
And I've been in my share of Jersey board flame wars, and I like a good flame war as much as the next guy, especially when it comes to competitive trekking and the juices flowing. I absolutely agree with you that on the merits.
It's called promotion.
Hello.
It's called promotion. It's not getting the juices flowing. It promotes the game, and it gets people to give a fuck.
Okay,
we need.
Gen Con 2003, Gen Con 2004, when we were getting those flame wars with the Minnesota guys, I wanted to go to Gen Con and beat those guys. That got me fired up. So as a player, I was into it. Speaking for myself, I can't speak for anybody else. But,
I know for me, what got me interested when I was doing the model initially, what even interested. I want to preface this by saying I'm in complete support of an unmoderated section of the forum. I do agree that needs to exist. I would disagree that the entire forum needs to be unmoderated. But what got me interested in being a moderator in the first place, and did it for the length of time that I did it, in spite of all negative posts directed at me just for doing it, were that I think that you can go to if the forums become a toxic space where people aren't made to feel welcome, then as a whole, if there's no respite from that, then I think it pushes people away from the game. I know that as a new player in Atlanta, when I first joined or first came back to Trek 2E in 2009 or 2010. I asked my play group about getting on the forums once I found out that such a thing existed. Everybody in the group said, no, don't waste your time. It's just a place where people go to be nasty to each other, and you're not going to get anything out of it. And that, for years, I didn't go to the forum. I didn't get any decas. I didn't get any outside help because I just I didn't want to be any part of that. And so I agree that there needs to be an unmoderated forum somewhere on the boards, a place for people to go and vent and say whatever they want within reason. Not threatening each other or anything like that, but mostly unmoderated. But
yeah,
I agree.
I like John's idea about this. I think you mentioned on this probably a couple weeks ago, or a couple episodes ago. It's probably been months now. But the whole opt-in, like maybe making an unwritten rule where it's like if you're going to go on the not a forum and talk shit, you talk shit to people who are in there and they can talk shit back. You don't
No.
talk bad about people.
I absolutely would adhere to that rule. It's sort of a rule that everyone who would have to take upon themselves. But I didn't like that was the condition set by the CC management was, well, people don't want to be talked about that aren't on there. But at the same time, at that time, there was a CC board where I was being called a cancer and being run down. So it was a kind of do as I say, not as I do stipulation that I didn't care for. But that's
the moderators don't have access to that CC board either. So
that's I know. There's I could go Trump on the rigged system of the CC, but I don't want to go full blown Trump. But
fuck Trump.
Well, I've lost my train of thought. So I think I should wrap it up unless anybody else has anything they want to close with. But I'll thank everyone for coming on. It's actually a good show. What happened? 2 episodes, no playing things. So like Greasy Con, I'm kicking 5 people out of the discard pile for a change. Good night.
Take it 2.5.